Hey y'all, hope you're doing amazing. Brandon Renus here. So today I get to talk about something that hits a little closer to home. I live in Burlington, Washington. My wife and I typically go to the Cascade Mall on a Friday night to go watch whatever movie we feel like watching, trying to catch up on the times, considering how far I am behind them when it comes to watching movies. This Friday, thankfully, we were in North Dakota with family. But this Friday also, sadly, a shooter walked into the Cascade Mall, killed 5 people, at the moment is still on the run, and we do not know how many are wounded or injured. We know what the next narrative is going to be for the media. We're going to report it for a few minutes. After that, we're going to go straight into more gun control. We need to get rid of assault rifles. We need to get rid of particular magazines. We need to get rid of particular weapons. And it frustrates me. Why is it that the same people who are for gun control are typically against the drug war? And why is it that those who are for the drug war are typically against gun control? Do you realize that there is a serious flaw in your logic, if you can even call it that? We've been listening to major media so long that we believe that this is a logical perspective to have. So let me get this right. We can't keep drugs out of prisons, but we need to continue the drug war to protect us from drugs. And the same people who recognize that the drug war is a complete disaster say, hey, we need to start a war on guns because we can stop people from owning weapons. Insane! Let's not be a part of it. Now we know what the major media is going to say. They're going to talk about banning guns. Yep. But we know that they're not going to really talk about, oh, it was an anti-gun zone. Yep. Just like every other shooting that's happened in the last 50 years, they pick a public place that's anti-guns, and then they go and shoot a bunch of people. Yeah, they won't mention that. They won't talk about that as a major talking point. No, let's ban all guns. They won't talk about how the vast majority of people that have been on these shooting rampages have all been loaded up on antidepressants and have a long history of being on antidepressants. No. See, it's totally fine to drink, or it's not fine to drink and drive, but loading yourself up with drugs, yeah, that's totally fine. We'll hand you weapons for that. We won't blame the manufacturer of the drugs for what they might end up doing, the side effects, but we will blame the weapon manufacturers for what somebody will do with the weapon. This is insane, guys. Like, the logic, there is none. It's not consistency. It's not thought out. This is just, hey, this is the talking point I've always been told. I'm going to keep repeating it over and over and over again. And I'm curious, guys. What's it going to take for us to stop following major media? This is the same major media who in 2007 were bragging about how we needed to go into the Iraq, or I'm sorry, not 2007, 2002 or 2003 were bragging about how dangerous Iraq was, how they were gonna possibly kill us, they're gonna possibly nuke us, and we need to really go and attack them. That's the same major media we're listening to for a credible source? Okay, yeah, I understand. They can mess up something. Well, this is the same major media who reports every single black shooting that possibly happens, which is good. I'm all for it if you're going to support everybody. But no, when white people are shot by cops, which happens at a 2-to-1 rate, actually a little more than that, we don't mention those. Those aren't all over public news. Those aren't all over national news. No. So I'm curious, why are you still listening to them? How about the 2000 recession, the 2007 recession, either one of them? Where was the major news networks then? There's people out there that were actually warning and trying to protect the poor and the middle class. Where was the major news networks? Oh, they were laughing at them. Yeah. And then once those guys were proven correct in 2000 and 2007, guess what? Those major news networks, oh yeah, they won't allow them on their TV shows anymore. I'm not talking just CNN, MSNBC. I'm talking Fox, I'm talking CBS, I'm talking all of them. So why are we still listening to them? What about the drug war? Takes 1.3 million people, rips them away from their families. That's not all over the major news. No. I don't even smoke weed, but I'm sick and tired of people getting thrown in prison for smoking a joint or selling one. These are the same news networks who have emails linking them to being controlled by the DNC. No, I'm not saying the RNC is pure or innocent. I'm not saying that they didn't do the same exact thing with the Republican candidates. So the question is, we can't fix problems as long as we keep following this insanity of following the same major news networks that promote the same talking points, the same propaganda 24/7. In order to actually fix problems, we need to start thinking critically, which is the absolute opposite of what major media does. Look at Bernie Sanders' campaign, completely destroyed by all mainstream media. It's arguable the guy could have won without corruption, but he was hardly even mentioned by major media. Look at Ron Paul 4 years ago. Same exact thing. He'd be polling in second place. They would totally ignore his name. Go, well, here's first, third, and fourth, but we won't even mention second because that guy's a threat to the establishment. He's a threat to our news coverage. He's a threat to what we stand for. This wasn't just Fox News. This wasn't just MSNBC. Where are all the peace activists that were all over the news after the Iraq war started going south and it was, oh yeah, we got to get these peace activists on? Where are they now? When Obama has dropped more bombs on more countries than George W. Bush. Major news networks, well, that doesn't really fit the narrative, so let's not talk about that. Guys, we can't fix problems unless we recognize there's a problem. And you can't recognize there's a problem when you're completely voiding critical thinking. Most of us don't do that on purpose. It's just like anything else. If you hear a lie often enough, you're willing to start believing it. What will it take for you to change your sources on who you listen to? I'll give you two sources. One's going to be for liberals, and one's going to be for Republicans. And actually, I'm going to go and do this backwards. If you're a liberal, and you actually consider yourself an educated lefty or an educated Democrat, I highly recommend listening to Stefan Molyneux. He's on YouTube. Google him. He's completely funded by listeners. He's not owned by corporates. He's not owned by the top 1%. He's not owned by this top or the same 6 people that own all of the rest of the major media. No. The guy has 15 million views / downloads a month. Actually, it might be 20 million. He has a motherload. He's incredibly accurate, incredibly credible. But he would be more of a conservative, anarchist-leaning person. But what's the point of surrounding yourself with more liberal people if that's what you already believe? That's not critical thinking. That's brainwashing. That's, I'm going to keep listening to my same propaganda that I listen to all the time so that way I feel smarter about myself. That's embarrassing for all Republicans who are all diehard Republicans. You want a good source to listen to? Listen to TYT, The Young Turks. They would be Democrat / socialist. Yeah, you're not going to agree with them just as much as the liberals aren't going to agree with Stefan Molyneux. But at least you're going to be gaining respect or learning perspectives that you probably haven't listened to or heard. It's being surrounded in your bubble of, oh yeah, George W. Bush, woohoo! Ted Cruz, woohoo! Ron Paul, or I shouldn't say Ron Paul, most conservatives aren't Ron Paul fans. No. Donald Trump, woohoo! George Bush Sr., yeah, Ronald Reagan was the greatest. Guys, we're not promoting critical thinking. We're promoting brainwashing. And we get into these arguments, attacking people. And it's not to actually learn anything. It's to prove that we're right and to prove that someone else is wrong. In fact, we're not going there to educate anyone. We're going there to build ourselves up. That's what we're doing in most of our debates. We got to work on that. We got to figure out what we believe, why we believe it, and be willing to change when evidence proves otherwise. When we see that we're a hypocrite and that we're promoting an agenda that is the definition of insanity, which by definition is what you're supporting when you're pro-guns and anti-drugs. When you're anti-drugs, or I'm sorry, when you're pro-drugs and you're anti-guns. This is not logic, that is insanity. We need to be uniting behind common principles, morality, common sense, critical thinking, and actually educating ourselves on topics so that way we can actually have a good dialogue and fix problems instead of blaming the right or the left. Guys, if you want more videos like this, hit subscribe. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. This is Brandon Arenas signing out.